Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Today's video, I want to talk about what I kind of am starting to feel is a mass exodus of people like you from areas that they are realizing and probably have realized for a long time are not the best places to live. And they're getting out. They're getting the heck out of Dodge. Some people are just cutting their losses and getting. And so I want to talk a little bit about that, talk about why it's happening, show you some new things. As we know, every day there's something new, and show you how it's starting to worsen. And I think the feel from the American population, maybe not all of them, but there seems to be a growing number of people that are like, this is starting to go south. And why I think that could make this time around worse than the first one we saw when it in respects to the health crisis and what we saw last spring when things were being shut down. Again, not being a doomsdayer, but I think it's something that you need to be aware of. And I'll be honest with you, I don't enjoy sometimes talking about this stuff, especially, I've been talking about it for a few days now. So it's not something that I'm like, oh, I want to talk about this again. There's times I'd like to just move on to a different subject. But I think that this is a pressing matter right now. And it's something you need to be aware of and make plans to, because it's something that can happen and it can affect everyone, just like we saw back in, a year and a half ago or so. So I think that getting yourselves geared up for what is probably going to be happening over the next 2 to 4 weeks. It's what it looks like anyways. I'm just making an educated or uneducated guess. But that seems to be the general consensus also on a timeline of things seriously getting more aggressive. Before I get started on that, I plug this every once in a while. I hate feeling like a salesman, but it does help pay some bills around here. I have teamed up with a really good company, I feel, that manufactures some of the best emergency freeze-dried food on the market. It's called My Patriot Supply. They also offer other things like gravity-fed water filtration and other gear and stuff like that. So if you're interested in that, there is a link in the description below. Don't have to use it. It doesn't bother me if you prefer to go somewhere else or you just don't want to buy anything. That's fine. I put it out there for those of you that are in the market to look at stuff like that. You are wanting to buy something like that. So here's an option. And, if you like it, that's fine. I know the response I've gotten from my viewers that have used it. They love the customer service. They love the quality of the product. We do here also. It's not the only thing that we store up, obviously. It's actually only consists of a small percentage of our food preps, but we do have some there because there is a good point to having it, something that's very easy to prepare and lasts a very long time for those emergencies. All right, moving along. One of the big news, I think this one was CNN. I read quite a bit today in between the stuff that I've been doing around here. Got up early and was kind of brainstorming. This one I think was CNN. It's that the president said they're reporting from their sources inside the White House that he is ready basically to become very aggressive with this. He's ready to push policies, mandates, and everything that, they're being elusive about the words. What does that mean? Major lockdowns, forced, things, all that kind of stuff. And then it went on to say, if you read here, and they're not really too sure if it's legal, but they don't care. They don't care. And that's something I want to point out. When I talk about some of this stuff, I get some people commenting. And they're like, well, our Constitution doesn't allow that. Now, the president doesn't have the authority to do that. Congress doesn't have the authority to do that. My response is, do you think they care? Do you? Tell me, and I'm not talking about just the administration in power now. I'm talking about government in general over the last couple of decades. Name me a time that they really wanted to do something. They're like, well, we really think this is the best idea, but unfortunately our hands are tied by the Constitution. They do it anyways. look at this thing with this rent and mortgage moratorium. Apparently, the CDC, all of a sudden, this research, the Centers for Disease Control, they're supposed to be just kind of a research and facility agency, and an agency that kind of manages diseases and puts out, in the past, they just put out a bunch of statistics and stuff on diseases. Well, now apparently they have the authority to tell landlords that they can't kick out people that haven't paid their rent for over a year, because the CDC said that they're enacting a rent moratorium, because the other one expired a few days ago, and there's this fear that people will be evicted, which is a very serious fear, and that all these, the disease will spread because all these people are out running around and not in their homes. They want people to be locked up in their homes. They're very serious about locking you in your homes. And so the CDC, by some miraculous act, now apparently has the authority to tell a landlord that owns the property. I understand the sympathy for the people that are the tenants, or the people that are trying to purchase the property or whatever. I get that. But the flip side is, we always try to paint landlords in this, every landlord's this evil person. There are certainly some that are, but the vast majority of rental property is just owned by individuals. They may have 2 or 3, 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces of property that they rent. They got to pay bills too. Not every landlord's, Donald Trump rich, okay? And they need to eat, they need to pay their own bills, and that's how they make their money. And now the CDC apparently has the authority to say, well, but you can't make money off of your property. You just have to let the people stay there. It doesn't matter what they do, tear it up, not pay any bills, nothing. And you get left holding, well, nothing. So the point is do you really think that they care? Do you really think the globalists, the elitists care that, well, we have this little law right here that says that we can't do it, so I guess we'll just admit defeat and back away? It's not likely going to happen. The rhetoric, and I talked about that yesterday, the rhetoric is just continuing to increase. The New York mayor, de Blasio, basically is talking about how, he's been saying this for weeks now, how, people need to be, shouldn't be voluntary anymore. Basically classifying people separately. The president kind of backed that up, also calling them the un-thing community. Talked about that yesterday. Now he was making the statement that, we're trying to get it approved for even younger kids, because we want the parents that got it, and they go out in public, they go to a restaurant, and they can go to a restaurant now because they have the thing. If you don't have the thing in New York, you can't. But the people that's got the thing, they can go. But what about their kids? They have these little kids. Well, he's saying that, they're hoping to have that approved for little kids soon, because guess what? We don't really want to separate the families. We don't really want to separate the families, but I guess that we're willing to do it, I mean, that's what, Klaus Schwab at the World Economic Forum says that we have to do, and the whole royal family, and the UN Security Council and all that kind of stuff. They say we have to. Don't really want to, but, this is the kind of stuff that we're hearing more and more. We're really willing to take this to the next level, whether it's legal or not. We don't really want to separate families, but I guess we have to. The FDA, it looks like they're on the brink of officially approving it. So it's no longer under emergency use status. A lot of people have said, the only reason why we're not seeing, full-blown mandates, mandating that you must receive it, is because, well, it's still under emergency status. And apparently, they're hoping in the next few weeks, maybe by the 1st of next month, to have it fully approved and authorized. So we'll see what happens when that happens. There's other countries, as we all know, that's just continually getting worse. Look at Israel. They've now announced that they're going to increase the speed of when they're going to lock everyone down. It wasn't supposed to be for another, month or so, and they're looking at it being probably within the next 2 weeks. And it's going to be extremely draconian for those of you that believe like I do, have a religious faith like I do, believing in the Father and the good book. in the end times and the importance in the end times of what's going on in Israel. Um, you know, having a government that's that powerful and that's doing that to the people, I don't know, it could set it up for someone stepping in and trying to fix all the problems and being the kind of the loosely used term savior for them. We'll see. Anyways, moving along. As we see things continuing to get worse, and they are. I mean, I don't think that's like a doomsday kind of thing. I'm not on here all pessimistic and negative, and we're all gonna go down with the ship. It's everything's too far gone. Everything's awful. You didn't prepare enough. Too bad for you. You hear that sometimes out there online from other preppers, and I don't agree with that. I don't follow that thinking. I think everyone has the opportunity to prepare themselves. The vast majority of the preparedness that you really need to do is mental and emotional and spiritual, and physical in your body. The stuff, the gear, the food, that's important. It really is important. But if you have the best stuff, the best gear, the most food, and you don't have it up here, you may not make it. Okay. So I believe that if you're just new to this, you're just getting started, you can make it. Going back to what I said in the beginning about this mass exodus, I don't have a huge audience here. I don't claim to, and that's fine with me. I'm content with what I've got. I'm overwhelmed with the amount of communication that I get from people already. Having a very, very difficult time, starting to get caught up. I'll sit there. Was it last night or night before? I sat there for several hours trying to read and respond to emails, and I wasn't completely caught up. I was about halfway, and I thought, okay, I'm doing good. I spent a good amount of time. I think I got caught up, and I got done, and I looked, and I had a whole screen and a half more of emails that I received while I was sitting there responding to those. I was like, oh, great. Well, I'm not as far ahead as I thought. Anyways, a lot of you are telling me, we've got to get out of here. Asking for advice. And it's not just moving here to the Ozarks. It's just getting out of where they're at. Obviously there's some good other areas, the Appalachian Mountains, up in, kind of Idaho and Nevada, and, basically rural areas. There's a lot of rural areas around the country, especially in the Midwest. The Ozarks is good, but it's not the only place to go, and people, not all of them are wanting to move here. They're just wanting to get out away from where they're at. And they're telling me, this is something we'd been thinking about for a while, for years. We probably waited too long, or we should have done this a while back, but things are getting pretty bad where we're at. People are reporting some significant shortages. Not everywhere, because I also get people saying, you know what, we haven't seen any shortages here yet. Everything's pretty hunky-dory where I'm at. And I would expect it to be that way. I don't expect it to just be this overnight, absolute everything is in short supply. I think it's going to progressively get that way. We're seeing all kinds of reports when it comes to farming. Not every farm in every region is reporting horrible crops, but we're certainly seeing more and more reports of really bad crops here in the United States and around the world. Other countries that are major crop producers in certain areas are saying, man, their crop this year is horrible, or at best moderate, for numerous reasons. That's all going to come to a head also. Plus, here in the United States, we're still paying farmers to destroy crops. We're still paying them to till under their crops or to mow it down. On top of the fact that a lot of areas are reporting less than ideal, or even as bad as, worse, these worse crop returns than that they've had in years. So all of that's going to come to a head also, folks. Come this fall, next spring, I think it's going to get worse. We're already dealing with a 35% year over year, or year since last year, increase in food cost overall. It's going to get worse. Dollar values keep slipping, less buying power because of increased inflation of prices. The Fed is still doing their thing of, trying to put Band-Aids after Band-Aids, and now they're at least admitting that, well, this inflation deal is probably going to last a while. It's probably going to get worse. Maybe someone should do something about it. So folks, continue to get yourself ready. If you're serious about moving, that's a good idea. Make sure you're, one thing that I want to advise, at least in that area, don't do a panic move. Don't just settle for whatever you can find just so that you can get out of where you're at, because you may not end up in a place that's that much better than where you're at, just because you're out of the city. And I know that just being out of a big city is a major step forward, but what if the land isn't a good quality land? Or what if you find out there's restrictions on it? Or what if you find out that, they're getting ready to build a massive hog farm 30 feet from where you're gonna, from your property line? I mean, there's all kinds of things that you need to look into. So don't just jump on the first piece of property you have just because you're in this panic, because panicking is not really what we should be doing. I mean, that's why we prepare. That's why we watch videos like this. That's why we do the things to prepare for stuff, because it helps us not be as panicked. When we're panicked, we don't have our wits about us. We're not capable of keeping it together and thinking clearly. And that's what they want us to do, I think. I mean, that's part of it. I think that's part of it. They like that. They feed, the ones in power, they feed off of that fear and panic factor. And that's why the news media is constantly drumming up, some new big boogeyman that's going to, destroy everything. So continue to prepare yourselves, obviously. Continue to, build your knowledge and skills. Always remember also, and I think I'm going to eventually make a video just on this subject, the emotional level. We live in a society now that everyone is hyper emotional about everything. And I'm not saying emotions are bad. I'm just saying that people are everyone's on the brink of a meltdown and a breakdown, and everything is traumatic for them, and no one can handle anything. Everyone's got to cry about something. You can't really be that way when things like this happen. I'm not saying you got to be, emotionless. We just have to work on controlling that and trying to keep ourselves a level head. And then in the end, having faith and belief that the Creator and the Almighty is going to take care of everything. I've read the end of the book. I know what it says. I know how it all ends. Getting to the end could be difficult, and trials and tribulations and rough waters that we must cross, because he never promised that we wouldn't have to go through that, but he did say that he'd be there with us when we go through that. So that's why I say, get your house in order, folks. Get yourselves prepared mentally, physically, and spiritually. Because I believe you don't have to. You may not agree with this, but I do believe that in the end, what we're dealing with is spiritual warfare. It's leading us to a place that has been foretold for a long time. How much longer do we have? I don't know. I'm no theologian. No one knows anyways. Only the Father knows. Not even the Son knows. So we don't know how much longer we have. But we do have to tarry until then. We have to continue to work and prepare ourselves until that final day. So I got kind of off on a Bible thumping rant there. Sorry about that, but I'm not sorry. Seriously though, I think they're going to continue pushing ahead. There's no indication whatsoever that they're going to stop. One little thing that I noticed, that, this little feud between Biden and the governor of Florida, I think that there's more to that. I'm sure it's all for show, but I think that's going to be used as a springboard or platform of, this is why we have to take control on a federal level, because we got these rogue governors that won't do their job and protect their people, that kind of thing. So continue to prepare. Keep sending me the emails. I'll answer as many questions as I can. We have a meeting coming up August 22nd. For those of you that stuck around the video this long, If you have any questions, email me. There's an email down in the description also. And I will let you know the details here in the Ozarks, August 22nd. All right. Thank you for watching. Catch you in the next video.